here with Billy Saylor.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
How are you?
Doing well. Everyone's nice and healthy, so I'm happy. How about you guys?
Doing good too. Enjoying this new season too. New things.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some good weather this weekend so the kids can get out of the house.
Yeah. So Billy, I want to ask you on regards to appraisals, how is that being handled right now with everybody that, had a house under contract and the appraisal contingency? So how is that being handled?
Yeah, so there has been some much needed flexibility because obviously you have a lot of concern about appraisers coming into people's homes, not only from the seller side, but from the appraiser side. They really don't want to have to go into someone's house. So they're now allowing, this is across the board for all conventional financing, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and then also government loans, USDA, VA, and FHA. They are allowing to do an exterior inspection report or a desktop appraisal. Preferably the desktop appraisal will include more information. They're basically going to pull information from like MLS, from public record, from different third-party resources in order to get all the information they would normally need to complete that full 1004, that full appraisal report. And so as long as they fit that criteria, they provide the proper adjustments for whatever comparables they're going to be using, that will be acceptable, the exterior inspection or the desktop instead of a full interior exterior appraisal report.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know because a lot of people obviously are scared and they cannot, they're not allowing anybody into the house. Yeah. And in regards to the verification of employment, how are you guys handling that situation? Because a lot of people obviously, lost their jobs, or if they were in the process of buying a house and temporarily,
Yeah, it's definitely tough. One thing, aside from just the verification piece, so just to let you know about verification, 3 days prior to a closing, and then again, it has to be completed prior to the wire being released settlement, right? So for all of our purchase transactions, we're trying to scramble to get that final done before the wire is released on that closing day. So you can do a traditional verbal, or like when I just had a teacher here at Battlefield High School, obviously everything's closed down, and there was just an email sent from the principal to the person completing to our closer, completing the verification. And as long as it's from a work email and the signature block has their position and where they're coming from, it's fine. But they do need to have that final verification completed prior to a loan dispersing. Okay. Now, one thing we just talked about this morning on our company call was the reduction in documentation timeframes. It used to be that you could have a bank statement or a pay stub that was good for 60 days. FHA and VA max is now 45. So they're really starting to clamp down and make sure that we are ensuring continuity of income. Okay, to kind of answer your point about people unfortunately losing their positions, it is definitely going to be, something for us to keep an eye on.
Okay, but so moving forward to the pre-qualification process, how they're gonna handle that? Like, if somebody lost their job temporarily, how they're gonna handle that gap?
Well, we are waiting for a little bit of guidance to come down from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, especially with regards to a gap. Because if we, let's say, completed verification and their position is still there, but obviously they're having a circumstance with regards to income. So I think, which was one of the things we were talking about this morning, is having whoever is completing that verification basically provide, basically a confirmation that their position is still there and that they are, there is the assumption they will be returning back to their regular workload once the offices are allowed to be reopened. And so we are kind of waiting for some guidance on what exactly Fannie and Freddie are going to require in the meantime. Are we able to just kind of continue with our calculation of what it was prior to this event? So that is one thing, unfortunately, I don't have a direct answer to, but we are waiting for some guidance on.
Okay, well, that's good to know. The good thing is that everybody is trying to work toward helping and, creating new regulations and rules. So that's good. And on regards, yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing that we do have, and I can only speak in relation to the Fairway, not necessarily other lenders, but we have what's called a day one certainty, where as soon as I have an app come in, I'm able to go ahead, based on social date of birth and name, pull a worknumber.com report. So it'll automatically give me what their salary information is based on their previous year's tax filing. So a lot of times I don't need to click through worknumber.com. So in that case, simply a verification of employment is sufficient, which has been great in this kind of circumstance where you're not trying to, rush around for documentation, recent pay stub. So that is one thing that we're able to use to kind of help out, with this, period of time where people might not necessarily be going to the office.
Yes, that's awesome. And on regards to the mortgage payment that, everybody is worried about, how are you guys handling that?
Yeah, that is not so much a worry of ours, but it is a worry on the servicing side. And one thing that we were kind of talking about earlier was as far as the volume issue is if you're a servicer and you are looking to buy a new bundle of mortgages, you are going to purchase those with the least amount of risk possible. So you're talking about those with high level credit scores, low level debt income ratio. You're looking for those things that provide the least amount of risk because now we're the government fed and, when they're coming down with new laws allowing for certain levels of forbearance for a period of time, all of a sudden now you're increasing risk on certain files. And so what we're seeing right now, like for instance, FHA, VA, the government, entities, even we're expecting for Fannie and Freddie, they're going to start to increase those minimum credit score requirements. Whereas before you might be able to get one through at 580 FHA, VA, it's probably more like 620, 640 now to minimize that risk to make sure there's still a servicing side who will take those loans. So that is definitely an element of concern. That the forbearance doesn't really impact me right now, but it does impact servicing and rates and the volume issue if servicers decide, hey, we're not going to purchase those loans that have a higher level of risk involved. So we're kind of waiting for that as well.
Yeah. And what would you say about the rates? How are they doing these days with all these craziness?
Yeah. I mean, I do expect for rates to come down. Once we get this volume madness taken care of, with the Fed stepping in, the $500 billion they allocated from the last week's surplus day, and plus the daily purchases, they had a $500 billion one chunk purchase, and then they've allocated money. I think they're doing between 30 and 40 billion per day that they're buying to help get these mortgage-backed securities off the marketplace and kind of decrease volume to help rates come down. Because as you decrease price, you increase rates. So they're trying to find a sweet spot there. I expect for the 30-year conventional to kind of rest around that 3 to 3.25, and VA I expect to come down between that 2.875 and 3%. That's kind of where I see the sweet spot for those two programs. It's just volume has been such an issue, and it's more so lenders feeling comfortable with the flow of submissions, because as soon as you drop rates down, you're going to get another wave of submissions. So that's one thing that lenders are having a very hard time with right now, is just the mass amount, the flood of loans. So we do expect rates to come down. I would anticipate next week, realistically, of seeing a real impact of the Fed's push to start to have an impact. But I do anticipate rates to come down. There is a great opportunity if for those that are in a position to be able to take advantage on the refi side and even to buy. It's a great opportunity for those that take advantage.
Yeah, well, thank you, Billy. I really appreciate you taking the time to help us understand and navigate all these things that sometimes we don't understand. All righty, Billy, great seeing you, and hope you guys stay safe.
You as well. Thank you so much. I'll see you, okay?
Thank you.